Hey guys, welcome to Think Aside. I know it's been a couple of weeks. I'm sorry about that. I am trying to be better at being more consistent once per week. That's been my goal, and it will continue to be my goal. Thanks for those of you that, are tuning in and watching it when I do post one. So today I want to talk about opinions and how we deal with them and how we let them affect us is I guess the best way to put it. So I think we all have an opinion on pretty much everything that you could possibly think of, right? And if you don't have an opinion on it, chances are if I were to bring up a topic and tell you a little bit about it, you could probably form an opinion on it quite quickly. I think that's probably like a survival instinct type thing, like a black and white, we instantly have to judge, like, is it safe? Is it not safe? What do we think about it? How do we react to it, right? So I think a lot of us, not only do we have an opinion, but we allow it to kind of impact what we do in our lives or how we treat other people in our lives because of our opinion, because it's separate or possibly different or alike to someone else's, right? And so we see simple things like, what's your favorite color? Well, mine's blue. You could argue it's turquoise or teal. Someone else's might be red. Now, just because their favorite color is red doesn't mean I'm going to instantly not like them, right? Like, oh, well, your color is red. I don't like red, so I don't like you, right? Like that's silly. But then we take that same thing and we do it from a different scale. We scale it up, right? We exaggerate that, so to speak, and we have things like um, gay rights, right? Like, say someone doesn't like the idea of someone being gay. Say their religion tells them that being gay is wrong. And so because someone's gay, now they don't like that person or they disagree with that person. And some people are quite hateful about it, right? But yeah, it's the same kind of thing, right? Like their favorite color is red, or say men, right? Like say it's a guy that the guy prefers men and another guy say prefers women, right? They prefer blue. it doesn't it doesn't make one less than the other just because they prefer that, right? It doesn't matter. It's not affecting that person if the other person likes men instead of women, like. And so yeah, you could argue like the children and blah 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 blah, but the impacts of it can be fixed elsewhere. And even if it does cause negative impacts, it doesn't mean that we inherently have the right to control what another person does or thinks, right? And that's what I'm getting at here. I think I think in general we look at how we feel about something and we expect that everyone else feels that way. And I think it's always to some extent been that way, but I think people dealt with it differently. And over time it's gotten different in the way that we deal with it. And lately, I'm sure you're all aware, we can be quite violent about our opinions, and we can force it upon other people. And we if our us ourselves don't do it, we expect that our government will, right? We'll say like, you need to uphold this because I feel this way about it. A good example of that is, and not to get too political with it because my goal isn't to change your opinion on it or anything like that, is abortion, right? Like, we recently had the whole Roe versus Wade and how it got overturned, and how the government had decided that it was no longer, that it was never, I guess I should say, that it's not inherently a constitutional right, is what they decided. That it shouldn't be protected at a federal level, that states should decide that. So regardless of your opinion on it, which way you would vote or which way you prefer it to be, we are inherently, by having any sort of active say on it, by trying to persuade the government to control it one way or the other, we are trying to force how we feel about something onto other people, right? And like, you could argue that it's life that you're protecting and things like that, but you are still putting your opinion, your feel, because that's what you could argue, right? That's your opinion, that's how you feel, that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to protect, if you try to protect that life, so to speak. But even then, that's your opinion, that's your feeling. Like, you've taken it upon yourself to tell someone that they can or can't do something. So without, again, getting too political and getting into the argument of, protecting human life and, what you're obligated to and things like that, the idea still remains that we try to force our opinion on other people actively. And we see that again with gay rights. We see it with a lot of different things, like women's rights and things like that. Like, some people would argue that they shouldn't, or whatever, and that's fine. People can argue whatever they want, but they shouldn't be able to actually impact what another person does, nor should they be able to. I say should be able to. They can, but they shouldn't. They would argue you're supposed to let people live. Live and let live. It's that idea. So where am I getting at with this, right? What am I getting at with opinions and, forcefully pushing them on people and things like that? Well, I'm getting at how it's impacting us individually and us as a society. Yes, we all have different opinions, but the problem that we're running into is when it is getting violent, when people are literally taking their opinions and letting it heat themselves up so much that they're going out and killing people, attacking people, going on Facebook and calling people very hateful names because they disagree, going and starting rumors or sending death threats, or I mean, there's so many different scenarios. There's so many things that people do just because they feel like they should feel the same way they do. And now this seems all somewhat innocent, like, of course, killing and uh, physically attacking and things like that, not so much. But like Facebook stuff, like, you can avoid that, right? Like, that's, you can choose not to go there and not have those names called, or whatever. But the problems are remaining. The division is still here. And that's the goal that I need to convey here. And what I'm setting out to do is that because we are so divided with our opinions, and we're allowing, because that's the thing, is we have our opinions, but we're allowing those opinions to divide us. We're allowing them to set us so far apart from one another that we literally don't like the person because they disagree with us. Why? That is harming us just as much as it is harming them. Not only that, but it is giving the government more power. It is giving the presiding power that much more, because they're opposing, their opposition is us, the people, right? We, the people. We are not necessarily against the government, but we are the check to the government. We are the counterweight. And when we are divided, that counterweight gets much, much lighter. And then who wins, right? Who checks the government if we're all trying to check one another? We're not focused on the government at that point. We're focused on what the government should do about another group of people. We're giving them power, saying, here, take care of these people. So that's an issue, right? That is the problem, is that we need to get away from dividing one another, dividing ourselves from one another. We need to see common ground and find peace in that common ground, and then move past the problems that we have with one another, our opinions, the things that we can have, but we can't give them away. We can't make people take them, right? Like, they have their own. That's the beauty of human beings, is we think for ourselves. Our life is our own, and no one owns that life. And so that's what I'm trying to do here. I think it's so important that, in this life, that we try to work together. And I'm not saying I'm great at it. I still find opposition in people. They are people that I have a hard time liking, and they have a hard time liking me, and we can't work together very well. You know what I mean? We probably wouldn't be able to accomplish a task very easily if we were forced to work together. And that's a problem, because we don't realize everything that we face right now, but problems are coming up. We've seen COVID, we've seen gas prices go up, we've seen food get more expensive and go off the shelves. and we care about ourselves, right? We end up buying all of whatever it is so that way someone else doesn't buy all of whatever it is and that person's screwed and oh well, because I'm good. Like, we are so divided in so many different ways that we are constantly looking at ourselves. We're looking inward, like, well, I feel this, I feel that. They shouldn't do this because it's not like me. But we need to accept people for who they are, for the differences, and allow those differences to allow us to grow, to make us grow. That's how we grow, right? Is we get a little bit uncomfortable and we think beyond what we're currently thinking. We shift our paradigm a bit, right? Our idea of life. So that's what I encourage you guys to do is to consider before a straight up civil war starts, right? I urge you to consider, as I will continue to consider, that our opinions are just opinions, that they don't matter as much as we think they do. What people do doesn't matter as much as we think it does. If it's not harming you, if it's not harming another person, don't worry about it. And if it is harming another person, consider what you have as a human being for rights to affect or impact that other person. Respect life always. Respect life first. And from there, it will be very hard to make a mistake in regards to dealing with another human being. Thank you.